I'm going to show you how to top stitch a lined tabard. I have just the one panel sewn up. I've turned it inside out. And so I have bobbin thread in yellow, coordinating color. I have white up here, but you could also use yellow there. What we're going to be doing is sewing from the inside, push the seam allowance towards the lining or the less dominant fabric, in this case tabard yellow, and pulling the two pieces apart while you sew. Try and do this one-handed so you can see it. Okay, so right now there's my seam allowance. Here's where I'll be stitching. I'm going to be pulling the two pieces apart as tautly as possible while stitching to the right of the seam. About an 1/8 inch, maybe. Okay, let me get this entire line done, and then I'll show you what you do when you get to a corner. I'm getting near a corner. You can't sew all the way up because it needs to be able to spread evenly. So you want to do is sew as far as you can. As far as you can towards that corner. For something like this, probably about 1 inch away from that corner. Okay, and then you want to back stitch. Okay, and you can either cut it or you move past the corner about another inch to where it's spreadable again, where you can lay it flat, and then you start another line. Make sure you're always sewing to the right of the seam towards the liner fabric. Okay, my top stitching is finished. There's the top side. See, there's the main fabric, the liner fabric, and if you flip it over, I used yellow on the bobbin thread so you can see the yellow stitching. Now what this does is, because I pulled these two pieces taut and sewed this over to here, when we go to press it, the yellow is going to be tucked underneath and the white will wind up being dominant. Now that I have it all top stitched, I wanted to show you a little trick. You don't have to cut your corners in order to flip it and have a sharp corner up to a 90-degree angle. Okay, so what you do is you fold. Now I have it top stitched, so it gives me a guide. You fold it this way, and then along the seam line, and then you fold it this way along the seam line. See how there's a little pleat there? Now you want to grab it from the inside and flip it around with those folds in place, and then guide it like that. And you have a sharp corner right along the stitch line without having to clip anything. So here's our panel. I turned it the right side out. There's the top stitching. Notice I ended about 1 inch to 1.5 inches from the corner. And there's the sharp corner that I got without any clipping. And if you'll notice, the fabric already wants to sit where it's supposed to. So what I do is I always press from the lining with the lining on top, and you just kind of push it as far over. I'm doing this one-handed, but you kind of push it as far towards the edge as you can. Because of the top stitching, see how there's like a little white line? You won't see any yellow peeking out along the side. You also don't get any stitching on the main side of the fabric. So it just looks a lot more professional and a lot more clean. Okay, so here's our panel with the seams ironed. If you'll notice, you can see the little white line on the edge, and there's the stitching. There are crisp corners, all without clipping. And if you'll take a look at the other side, not only do you not have stitching on this outer edge of the main part of the tabard, but there's also next to no chance that it will ever fray out, because not only did you not clip any corners, you also reinforced the seam itself with a second line of stitching. So the chances of it ever fraying out are next to impossible.